Sophia walked through the streets, her steps measured but her mind restless. The memory of last night's dream clung to her, a soft, lingering warmth that seemed to hum beneath her skin. She felt it in the small moments, a flush of heat as a thought of him surfaced, a shiver down her spine when she remembered the press of his hands, the weight of his embrace, the fire of his kiss. Her chest tightened and she pressed her palms lightly to it, as if to contain the rising tide of sensations. She hadn't expected the intensity to return so sharply, the flame within her stirring in response to the thought of him. It was not just memory, it was presence, alive and insistent, calling to her even in the waking world. Sophia paused on the corner of the street, closing her eyes for a heartbeat. The heat spread the heat spread through her, subtle at first, then more pronounced, igniting a tension she could neither ignore nor release. Her thoughts wandered to Christian, to the dreams that had become their nightly sanctuary, and to the ache of desire she had once thought she could contain. Her breathing deepened, slow and deliberate, as she tried to ground herself, yet even as she reminded herself of the world around her, the mundane, the ordinary, the ember of longing refused to be extinguished. It pulsed, persistent and unrelenting, a reminder of the internal masculine flame that burned not only in Christian, but now within her, igniting her own feminine fire in response. Sophia opened her eyes, gazing at the city streets, and felt a quiet acknowledgement settle in her chest. The heat was alive, real, and undeniable. She could try to suppress it during the day, but she knew that at night, when the veil of sleep descended, the flames would burn hotter, consuming her in ways that she feared and longed for. As night fell, the world softened and dissolved around Sophia. She felt the pull before sleep fully claimed her, the familiar tug of anticipation, a whisper of warmth that threaded thoughts through her mind and through her chest. And then, as if the universe had folded itself on her, Christian appeared. He was close, impossible close, the heat of his presence pressing into her with a magnetic force that she could not resist. Their eyes met, and in that gaze all hesitation and fear dissolved. The flame between them ignited instantly, spreading through her body in pulses of longing and recognition. Christian's hands traced the curve of her shoulder, lingering at the small of her back, and she shivered, the fire within her responding to every touch. Her lips parted instinctively as he drew near, and when their mouths met, it was not just a kiss, it was a spark, an ignition of the flames that had lain dormant, now roaring to life. The heat consumed her, enveloped her, and yet it was tender, reverent, and deeply intimate. Every caress, every whispered breath, every press of his body against hers stirred the fire within her, fanning it higher, making her ache and shiver and surrender all at once. She melted into him, her hands exploring the strength and warmth of his chest, memorizing the feel of him as if their connection alone could tether her soul. Time had no meaning here, only the fire, only the consuming, burning intimacy of two flames meeting, colliding, merging. Sophia surrendered fully, her body and spirit entwined with his, and for the first time she felt the true magnitude of the internal masculine, the pull, the heat, the certainty that came from him. She let it consume her without fear, allowing the flames to burn hotter than ever before, her soul matching his intensity with her own. When they finally drew apart, breathless and trembling, the warmth lingered, radiating through her in waves. She smiled into the remnants of the fire, knowing that this connection, this surrender, was transforming her from within, igniting not just desire, but courage, passion, and a deep, unspoken knowing that she was fully alive. The morning light streamed through Sophia's apartment, but it brought no relief from the fire that still burned within her. Every memory of the night, the press of his body, the heat of his touch, the taste of his lips, echoed through her, leaving her chest tight and her skin tingling. She paused and paced. She paused before pacing the small room, trying to ground herself, trying to push the sensations away, but the flame refused to be tamed. A glance at her reflection in the mirror brought a sharp awareness of the flush in her cheeks, the way her pulse seemed to race at the mere thought of him. Her desire was no longer a whisper, it had become a living, consuming presence that demanded acknowledgement. Sophia pressed her palms against her thighs, breathing deeply, attempting to redirect her energy into work, into mundane tasks, anything to temper the rising heat. Yet every sound, every memory, every fleeting thought of him made it swell again. The internal masculine, the energy of Christian, seemed to flow through her, igniting her own feminine fire in ways she had not anticipated. Her body ached with the tension of restraint, her mind torn between the longing that pulsed through her veins and the need to exist in the waking world without succumbing entirely to it. She realized that the dreams were not just fantasy, they were catalysts, opening doors inside of her that she had not fully explored. Sitting on the edge of her bed, Sophia closed her eyes and placed a hand over her heart, trying to breathe through the fire. It's not weakness, she whispered to herself, it's awakening. This is the flame within me, and I will learn to hold it. Even as she tried to steady herself, she knew that the night would come again, and with it the flames would burn hotter than ever, consuming, transforming, and awakening parts of her that the day could only hint at. When night fell again, heavier this time, laden with the memory of the day's lingering heat, Sophia felt it first as a hum beneath her skin, an insistent pull that grew stronger with each passing moment. As sleep claimed her, the world melted away, leaving only a space where she knew he would be waiting. Christian emerged from the shadows like a living flame, the air between them thick with longing and recognition. Their eyes met, and a current of heat and desire passed between them, so intense it left her breathless even before their lips touched. When they finally kissed, it was not a tentative brush of lips, but a consuming fire. Each movement, each touch, each whispered sigh fanned the flames inside her higher, and she surrendered completely. The eternal masculine, the power, warmth, and certainty of Christian's presence flowed through her, igniting her feminine flame in a dance that was both fierce and tender. He pressed against her with a slow, deliberate heat that matched the rhythm of her heartbeat, and she melted into it, feeling the boundaries of her body dissolve. The kiss deepened, exploring, claiming, merging with the essence of her being. Her hands traced the strength of his chest, memorizing the curve of his muscles, the warmth of his skin, the pulse of life that resonated with her own. The flames between them roared hotter than ever before, a fire that consumed and transformed, desire, love, trust, longing, intertwined, each feeding the other until she felt her soul ignite from within. She had never felt such complete surrender, such absolute merging of spirit and flesh. Every cell of her body seemed awake, alive, and vibrating with the intensity of their connection. Finally, when they drew back, breathless and trembling, the heat lingered, a constant hum in her veins. Sophia smiled against his chest, her body and soul still humming with fire, knowing that this union, sacred and consuming, was not just desire. It was awakening. The flames had awakened her fully, igniting not only longing, but a deeper awareness of herself and the connection that ran between them, unbroken and eternal. Sophia stirred as the first hints of morning light brushed her eyelids, her body still humming with the intensity of the night's encounter. The memory of Christian's touch, the press of his chest, the heat of their kisses lingered in every nerve, leaving her body exhilarated and achingly aware of the void of his absence in the present. She sat up slowly, pressing a hand over her chest where the fire seemed to burn brightest. The pulse of desire and longing had not faded. It lingered like a warm ember, an invisible flame that refused to be ignored. Every breath, every moment carried the echo of him, and she realized with both delight and frustration how deeply the dreams had imprinted themselves on her waking body. Sophia moved through her morning routine with measured steps, her mind flickering to fragments of night. The curve of his hands, the pull of his lips, the sensation of surrender that had left her trembling. She felt both empowered and unsteady, aware of the internal fire Christian ignited, and it was not simply physical. It touched her spirit, fanning the flames of desire, courage, and awakening all at once. The day felt heavier now, charged with the tension of what she could not fully release. She was caught between worlds, the dream that had burned so brightly, and the wakened reality where his absence pressed against her like a shadow. And yet, in the lingering heat, Sophia recognized a new rhythm, an inner fire that was hers as much as his, a flame she could carry and nurture even in the mundane hours of the day. She pressed a hand to her lips, recalling the softness, the power, the intimacy of the night, and allowed herself a small, knowing smile. The flames would return, and when they did, she would surrender again, fully and without hesitation, letting the fire consume her in ways that both terrified and delighted her. As evening settled, Sophia found herself pausing at her window, watching the city lights shimmer in the distance. The memory of Christian's touch still pulsed through her, warm and insistent, leaving a trail of fire that made her pulse quicken with both longing and recognition. She rested a hand over her heart, feeling the ember of the night's passion still alive within her. The flames that had consumed her in the dream were not merely desire. They were awakening something deeper, a fusion of longing, love, and spiritual expansion that reverberated through her very being. A soft smile curved her lips as she whispered into the quiet of her room, "The fire, it's alive in me now. It's not just him. It's us. It's this connection. It's the part of me I've been waiting to feel fully." Sophia leaned back, letting herself linger in the sensation of anticipation. She knew the day would test her restraint, that the heat within would pulse relentlessly, but she also understood that each encounter, each surrender in the dream, was a step further into awakening. The flames were both challenge and gift, consuming her, refining her, teaching her to embrace herself fully. She closed her eyes, breathing slowly, letting the memory of him ignite her courage and her desire simultaneously. In the quiet, she felt a thrill of expectancy. The night would come again, and with it, the fire would return, brighter and hotter than before. Soon, she thought, we will meet again, and in that thought, the tension of longing became a pulse of empowerment, a spark that promised transformation, connection, and the continuation of the flame that now burned, not just in him, but within her.